Okay, good morning. So we're up to Reish Chof Gimel Halacha Beis. We're going through the halachas of making various brachos of Shechionu and Hatov HaMeitiv and Dayan Ho'emes as well. So this is where we're up to Sif Beis. Meis Aviv, if Rahman Islan, a person's father or parent passes away, Mevarich, one makes the bracha Dayan Ho'emes, Hayalei Mamoin, and if Sheyarsha, and if the parent had money which he's going to bequeath to the son, Im Ein Lei Achim Mevarich Gamkin Shechionu, he makes Shechionu on the fact that he's going to come into that money. Im Yesh Lei Achim, but if there are other siblings, B'makom Shechionu Mevarich Hatov HaMeitiv, because that's going to be shared with others, it's meitiv for Acherim as well. She'ein Mevarich Hatov HaMeitiv Elim Kein Yesh Lei Shutfus Ba'isa Tova. If there's a partnership in that money, then he makes Hatov HaMeitiv. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Kotan Ches, Meis Aviv, Vuadin Shah Odom Kosher. So the concept of making a Dayan Ho'emes is lav dafka parents, but also on an Odom Kosher, She'odom Itzta'er Olav, that a person is very distressed about his passing. Du Bichlal Shemuas Rois, that's included in sort of bad Shemuas, hearing bad news. Miu. Ha'edim Nagin Levarich B'lei Shem V'malchus. But the minhag is to make it without Shem V'malchus, without saying the Shem Hashem. Ve'einoi nochain, and it says in Mishnah Berurah that's not correct. Val kol ponim, you should still, if you're distressed about the passing of a certain person, you should make the bracha properly. Val kol ponim al Talmud Chacham shemeis, if a Talmud Chacham passes away, shetzorich bevada liseinin v'lismarmer al zeh, a person should mourn this. V'chein al kroiv shechav lisabel aleihem, vada yaskei bracha b'shem v'malchus. Certainly relatives, you say the bracha fully b'shem v'malchus. Okay, now then we said if there was mammon, if there was money which he inherits, you also make the bracha of Shechionu. Hainu mitchila Dayan Ho'emes. The order is first you make the bracha of Dayan Ho'emes, and then you make the bracha of Shechionu kanal ba'is vav, like we said previously. Va'achakach Shechionu al nechosim shenisharu loy mitay. That then to make the Shechionu that come your way. After the reality is he would prefer for the parent not to have died, and you would prefer not to come into this money. Nevertheless, we can make a Shechionu. It's not to do with simcha. Did you receive something which you will get some sort of productive benefit from? Even though it's sort of coupled with distress, still you make the Shechionu. So just so three interesting ha'aras. So he says the order is you make the bracha of Dayan Ho'emes first, and then the bracha of Shechionu. So if you look at 16, why is it that order? The bracha of Dayan Ho'emes is a chiyuv, is an obligation to make. That's not a chayva to make. V'tam noisef, and another reason is because of b'shal shuva shevet halevi. She'af shebizman hazeh nagu levarech Dayan Ho'emes b'beis Chaim. The minhag is nowadays that you make the bracha of Dayan Ho'emes not b'shas misa, which is really what the core halach is, but the minhag nowadays is to make it in the Beis HaKvaros, just before the Levaya, Lifnei HaKvura. Ubi Yerusha Zeichim Miyad, but the Yerusha, you actually, technically, you acquire the Nechosim straight away, B'shas Misa. Mikol Mo, and therefore, chronologically, really the Shechionu should come first. Mikol Mokum, Ein Levarach Shechionu Kodim Dayan Ho'emes. It would be inappropriate, as it were, to make a Shechionu before Dayan Ho'emes. She'ein Lecho Leig L'rosh God Mizeh. There's no greater mocking the dead than this. The first thing you do before you make Dayan Ho'emes is make a Shechionu. V'chein bi agon Shlomo Zalman Orach. And so too, Shlomo Zalman explains in Shmir Shabbos, She'ein Mokum Levarach Shechionu Lifnei Dayan Ho'emes. It's not appropriate to make Shechionu before Dayan Ho'emes. Shelo yireh b'sameach al moisei. That is, you shouldn't sort of be rejoicing. That's the first initial response. Okay. And 17, also interesting ha'ara. When a person is an oinen, kosav hagesha Chaim, shlo yivar shechionu hatov meitiv. Now the Gesher Chaim writes, when a person is an oinen, i.e., in that time frame between the Shas Misa and the Kvura, you shouldn't really make any brachos. You're potem in our mitzvahs and you shouldn't be doing anything. The only bracha you make is Dayan Ho'emes, because that's just immediately before the Kvura. Me'idach, however, Hagon Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, says, just like you make dayan ho'emes, that bracha which is being matzdik the din, you also have to make mention of the good that is related to it. V'siyim sham, and he concludes, only lofty individuals. And this fits in very well with what I said the other day, that Rabbi Reisman, he quotes Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, and he says, even though the halacha says you make dayan ho'emes on the Basura Ra and Shechion on the Basura Tova, the Olam don't seem to make it. So Rabbi Yaakov said that the minhag is that we forget to make it. That's how he put it. But Rabbi Reisman explained that it's a degree of of sophistication that a person has got the ability to compartmentalize his life. There's good, there's bad, and the good you make shechion, and the bad you make atov ametiv, and it's not, but only, he says, like he says over here, only yechidei skula have got that ability to do that. So it's to sort of balance conflicting emotions. Okay, then also he says something interesting. What about other relatives? Is it just on a parent that if he's Meirish? What if he's Meirish other relatives? So he says in 18, his Yerush, Umisha Rachron Islam Meis Benovu Yersha Yikosa B'Kiva if it's that way around, then not, because it's a peronius, you don't make a bracha. However, that you can make a shechion even if the Yerusha comes from a child up, that one can make the bracha. Okay.
For a grandparent, let's say a grandparent.
So then, so the implication of making dayan ho'emes on other relatives, according to what the Mechaber says, it says Meis Oviv, and then it says Achim. Where is Wilson? The Mishnah Berurah. Sorry, it was the Mishnah Berurah says that one would make on other things. Al kol ponim al tamid chacham shemeis bevadei tzarich l'soinin, etc. And the Mishnah Berurah says that although the minhag is to do it without shein v'malchus, he says it's ein enochen. You should do it properly. And then he finishes off, and where is it? Mikol makom yochel b'shechionu. We're doing it now. Hey, let's do it now. This is it. Sorry. If you look at Yosef Cotton Yud, b'mokum shechion, rotzolem sheshuv le'varch shechion, ukim sheyesh b'zeh tova nam b'gam la'achiv, v'yuchel varch brachos tova meitiv. Amru lo shemash shemeisa ishtay, v'nicha mamen v'varch daino emes al misasa v'shechion in Yerushosa. Sorry, I thought that was something else. Okay, so for a wife you make both. Where was it? We had it just a second ago. Val Krevov, the second line, Eli. V'chein al Krevov shechayv is abla lehem vada yazka bracha b'shem v'malchus. Okay, on other relatives, which you are chayv to do avedas. Okay, so for grandparents you're not actually chayv for avedas, but vada yazka bracha b'shem v'malchus. But the implication from the Mishnah Berurah is that you would. You don't see the Olam do this. That's the truth. But I suppose you can be, the father can say be a person for that. Okay, let's move on. Let's Sif Gimel's more freiliche Sachen. Sif Gimel. Bona bayis chodosh. A person builds a new house, a kona kelim chadoshim, or you buy new things. Afilu hoyak leikayetzi beiletzchila. Even if you have some of them, a kona v'chazar v'kona, or you had it and then you repurchase it. Mevarich al kol pam shechionu. Each time you make a shechionu. V'lav dafka chadoshim. Lav dafka, they've got to be new. But it's just new for you. So you can buy a second-hand car, but you will be very happy with this purchase, so you can make a shechion on it. The only time it's coming to exclude where you owned it and then you sell it and you repurchase it. Then it hasn't got this chadshus. But if you buy a second-hand car or something, then you can be very happy with it, and that's appropriate to make a shechionu. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah. Bona bayis chodosh. Vuadin, says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Kotan Yud Aleph. Vuadin imkona bayis. If a person lav dafka built a house, but he actually bought a house. So if you look at 20, he says im ein what if your name is not on the document? If he says, or what if you got a hefty mortgage? Would you make a shech on buying a new house? So he says here, v'mein habaylis al habayis reshuma al shmoi al pi chukei Medina. For some legislative reason, your name is not on the land registry. Das hagon reshum zam Orach shelo yivarich al k'miyosei. V'afim achakach roshem es habayis al shmoi lo yivarich. And then if you later register the house in your name, then you don't, because then it's past already. The simcha, the initial simcha, has worn off. Now, umisha kona, if you look at the next paragraph, umisha kona bias or kalim v'chadome b'hakofa. Yeah, you bought things on credit. Do you make a shechionu on that? Kosav ha'kaf ha'chaim shelo yivarech aleim. V'afilu im achakach pores al kol ha'chayv. He said, the Kaf HaChaim says you don't. And even if you later you pay it off, since initially you didn't buy it outright, so therefore you're potter for making a bracha. If you can sort of do it another way, it's a funny old business. You buy a fruit that you haven't had for a long time, or is in the new season, and that's yoked to the house. It's a funny thing. Anyway, that's what it's suggesting. For Yifta Gamis Abayis. Ochin. Das hagonim b'l Yashuv she'im yesh chashash sheyitlu mimenu ez mashekona lo yivorich. If the concern is that people might take this, that's why it's not written in your name, or you bought it with a mortgage and it's a sort of an unscrupulous lender who may come and repossess your house, then not. But if it's a standard chayv where you can repay the thing, says Rabbi Yashav, it's a regular mortgage, and you're very happy that you bought this house, and yes, you've borrowed money, like that's the minhag ha'olam, and you have to borrow a lot of money. Says Rabbi Yashav, if it so long as you have the option to pay it back, and it's a scrupulous lender, then it would be okay to make a shechionu. Now, what about if you have an extension? You're not actually building a new home, or you build a machsan or something like that. So if you look at the second column, the next paragraph, what if you build a house you're not going to actually live in? It could go in machsan. That is only when you actually live in the house. But if you're sort of building like a storeroom or something like that, that doesn't generate the same simcha. B'sefer Brachos habayis she'ein levarich el al beis dira she'choshev hanosim ruba, where you're living it, and therefore that generates a lot of simcha. What about if you buy or you rent sort of business premises? Or misha koine buys schira la skira. So you buy either a buy to let, an investment property, or for business or whatever. Kosav b'sefer Brachos habayis she'ein mevarich alav kivin she'ein mevarich el al dov shegufay ne'en mimenu. It's got to be where you actually get direct benefit from it, personal benefit. But if you're just buying a property in order to let out, then not. Okay, let's press on with the Mishnah Berurah. V'davka k'shebono in the second line of Sif Kotan Yud Aleph. V'davka k'shebono kone la'atzmai. Davka if you bought it for yourself. Each of the partners make hatova meitiv. That's based on the Gemara. Valkein kahal shebonu Beis HaKnesses, or Ikonu Beis HaKnesses, if a community builds a shul, Yamid Shleach Tzibur V'Yivarech B'Kol Ram HaTova Meitiv L'Hotzias Kulam. That's a very beautiful thing to do. I've never seen that in action. But if imagine you have people buy a shul, the Shleach Tzibur is Meitzi everyone with the bracha of HaTova Meitiv. Okay. Bais Chodosh, Sif Kotan Beis, V'Uadin Im Nisra V'Chozer Bonoi. So too, if a house, Rahman Islam, burnt down and you rebuild it, but if you just merely demolish it and rebuild it, then yesh de'ez ba'achronim b'zeh v'sfeika lahakel. If you rebuilding the house by knocking it down and rebuilding it, then sofik lahakel. If you're adding a row of houses or something like that, then yesh levarich, you do make a bracha. If you look at 25. He says, "V'chein misha hoisef cheder ledirosei." Here we go. If you got an extension, do you make a bracha then? So he says, "Das hagoner b'l Yashuv shetzorich levarich shechionu." So you have a loft extension, or you do an extension at the back of the house or whatever. So he says here, you make a shechionu, and if you've got others in the house, a wife or children, then you make hatova hametiv. Okay, kelim chadoshim, new items. Now, Bein malbushim or bein klitash mishushtiyah v'achilach yetzi bazeh meim dvarim sheleva adam sameach bohem. What's the get there? You buy a new suit or you buy a new kalim, a new watch, a fancy watch, a new something. Then you make a bracha shechianu. And oni beroi lo v'oshe beroi lo. It's very subjective. It depends on your wealth. For some people, it can be a relatively small outlay, but it generates a lot of simcha. But for others, it may be a lot more. V'ayim b'siva v'chein imhu osher gadol. If a person is very wealthy, and a person can buy, let's say, a new leuchter, a new candelabra for Shabbos candles, and it could be expensive for the majority of people, but for this fellow it's small change, so then you don't make a bracha. It's very subjective. What if you buy a new shas? What if there's an art scroll sale and you buy a whole shas, the Schottenstein Talmud Bavli? Do you make a bracha on that? There's machloikas. Mishum the mitzvahs lav lehenes nitnu, because really mitzvahs lav lehenes nitnu, and it's not called the proper hana. You are looking forward to buy this sefer, and you get simcha by purchasing these sefarim. Then he says, "Shai brachos uniskan ala simcha for that atashmish." It's to do with the simcha, not on the usage. If you're very happy about this purchase, then you can make a bracha. I remember when I got my shas, the art scroll many years ago. They had a deal. I was tremendously happy with it. I had the whole art scroll, the shas at home. I keep it under, there's closed things I don't want everyone to see. With the gesture. Yeah, the Horizon who said my friends. I want to say that there are two types of people in this world. Those who admit to owning a gesture and those who don't. Yeah. Okay, Sif Kotin Yudalit. Hoya Lai. So what is this going on? So yeah, if you had these things initially, says the Mishnah Sif Kotin Yudalit, Yerusha Zavoisov, the Mikol Malkum Klize Chodosh Hulin in Kenia. Because it's new in terms of buying it. The Kosov Oid, Dafilu Kon of a Chos of a Kon, even if you rebuy it, or you buy more, the Bezeh after the Indian Kenia Lav Chodoshu is not new. Shari Yesh Lo Kelim. It's as if you've bought it, but it's new to you, and therefore that could generate the simcha. You should do it, very quickly after you make the purchase, before the novelty wears off. And it's coming to exclude if you sell it and then you repurchase it. Even if you haven't yet used it, so for example, you bought the new suit and it's hanging in your cupboard and then it's been there for weeks, so then the simcha is sort of worn off. You should try and do it as soon as possible whilst the simcha is still there. Okay, Beseda, good place to stop.